How much credibility are you giving this reporting around Arab talks for a peace plan in Gaza?
Well, there has been a long-standing Arab effort at pushing forward a ceasefire and trying to achieve a diplomatic resolution to this conflict. That has started pretty much as soon as the conflict erupted on October 7th. However, I think those efforts don't seem to be going very far. We heard Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu yesterday say and state very clearly that he is not interested whatsoever and, in fact, very much opposes the creation of an independent Palestinian state once this war is over. That obviously places a massive stumbling block in the face of Arab diplomatic efforts to attempt to bring about a ceasefire. There were attempts to coordinate among representatives of the Arab League and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation to create a contact group and to lobby capitals of the permanent members of the UN Security Council, including the United States. But with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu so overtly and openly opposed to the creation of a Palestinian state, it's difficult really to see how any of these efforts could bear fruit.
Indeed, and the question here is, how do you pave a pathway to a Palestinian state in the face of such staunch Netanyahu opposition? He said, and I direct quote him here, with or without the settlement, the state of Israel must have security control over the entire territory. So what is the pathway forward here, and is this peace plan a non-starter?
Well, that's precisely the policy challenge for the Arab states. I think there's a clear-eyed recognition that the main way to bring about a change in Israeli behavior and policy is by changing the U.S.'s policy on this issue. The U.S. has, and the Biden administration have supported in rhetoric the creation of a Palestinian state. And so Netanyahu's recent remarks places Israel at odds with U.S. policy on this issue. The Arab states have begun advocating for more coercive diplomacy to bring pressure to bear on the Israelis to change their position. We've heard the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman call for an arms ban on Israel. The Jordanians have advocated for a binding UN security resolution. There have been others, including Saudi Prince Turki Al Faisal, advocating for the imposition of sanctions on Israel for flouting international resolutions. And so I think there's a broader recognition in the Arab world that on the one hand, we will need to engage in more coercive diplomacy, bring pressure to bear, including potentially getting the European nations to recognize the present Palestinian state, the Palestinian Authority, as a state more widely, again, as a form of diplomatic pressure, on the one hand, and on the other hand, to bring about a change in U.S. policy on this issue as a means of influencing Israel.
Indeed, and there's still so many questions about the prospects for a two-state solution as well. With regards to the overall operational control of Gaza moving forward, do you believe it would be satisfactory for the United States or even for the Arab states to have Hamas as part of a leadership group within any future Palestinian state? Is that also something that would have to be considered here?
Well, the question is whether it is an avoidable outcome in the first place, in the sense that Hamas remains so deeply ingrained. Israel, despite the massive amounts of destruction brought about on Gaza, has yet had very limited success in eliminating Hamas's top leadership. Hamas is still able to put up a military effort against Israel. It's still able to launch rockets despite its capabilities being degraded. And so, in a sense, it becomes really difficult to see at what point it would be possible, really, to have a Gaza that is in which Hamas has no role to play whatsoever. We've already seen a massive amount of destruction, and yet Hamas is still standing. And so, in a sense, it becomes a question of whether Israel is pursuing an impossible goal, which means that it becomes actually very difficult to try and come up with a future scenario in Gaza in which Hamas plays no role whatsoever. So I think it's a reality that countries in the region and globally will more likely than not have to accept.